Hi everyone, Rico Rivera here with Silicon East Real Estate powered by Keller Williams. And in this episode, I have one of my friends from San Diego, sunny San Diego, Robert Brand. Robert, you want to introduce yourself for us?
Yeah. Hi, Rico. Yeah, we go back a ways. We won't tell everybody how long back, but a long ways. But anyway, what I do is I have a varied background, but for the last 31 years, so that's quite a while. I'm a one-person traveling show, if you will, and I talk about one topic, and that's risk management. And risk management is a very big topic. So the little niche part that I cover when I do seminars, and before traveling and airplanes and hotels and all that, and now of course it's Zoom. But the little niche part that I cover is disclosure of the physical condition of the property. As I always say when I start every seminar I do, in California, not any other state, but just here, about 90% of lawsuits against residential real estate agents involve and only involve the disclosure or the failure to disclose or whatever of some physical nature of the property. Sometimes it's not the property itself, it's the property is near a railroad or a school, and whatever the buyers think they should have been told about the property before they sealed the deal, is that general topic represents not all, but very close to all litigation in our state against residential agents. So that's my sole topic, and I'm a one-person traveling show. And as you know, I don't sell anything to the audience in the seminar, the agents ever, and I get sponsored by service providers, usually like lenders, home warranty, and so the real estate firms that invite me don't pay me or don't pay anything actually, and I just set that up myself. And I keep. I was going to kind of slow down now that I'm in my 90s, but I get a lot of invites because I've been doing it a long time, so I'm still at it.
Hey, listen, man, I actually think you're one of the best, if not the best, in all of California. I remember when Old Republic Home Protection, we were sponsoring you to go to brokerages and
Right.
even associations. And so
Right.
when I was the manager of Keller Williams, I brought you to the office.
Yeah.
So now we're doing Zoom, and I'm
Right.
here again. You said
Right.
something key, and I know me and you talked a little bit about this, but I want to reemphasize this. You said that people sue because they don't know, right?
Right.
A lot of the time, or 90% of the time, or more than 80% of the time. And so, that hasn't changed because of COVID. Like that
No.
hasn't changed at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Is the only thing that COVID has done to the topic I cover is that there are some, for real estate agents, there's the PEAD forms to fill out, and often when they're doing their limited visual inspection, they're there by themselves, which actually doesn't change anything. That there are fewer distractions. You don't have anybody following you around and that sort of thing. And when home inspectors are doing their thing, they're usually there by themselves. And so, but in terms of the mistakes that agents make in disclosure, which is the topic I address, or how to do it differently, the whole goal is to decrease the chance of being sued. And when people think of lawsuits, they think of it's going to cost a lot of money, or maybe I have E&O coverage and I'm insured, or I have a deductible. But there's a lot more to being sued. There's an emotional cost. There's like you start doubting yourself and so forth. There's a time. The average litigation time frame is about 18 months. So you're in depositions, you're going to court, and then your competition knows that you're being sued, even though you may not have done anything. And
Yep.
You're fighting for a listing, trying to get a listing, and the other agent says, "Well, I think he may be in court, or she may be in litigation. I don't know." And so anything we can do to stop it from happening at all is worthwhile.
Oh man, I so agree with you 100% of the time. And what we say all the time: disclose, disclose, disclose. So
Right.
give us some tips on how and where or why we should disclose, or when we should disclose.
Okay, so I'll address that for real estate agents. First of all, most agents, everybody, unless there's some it's a trust or something, everybody uses the transfer disclosure statement. But for the last many years now, agents put most of the information about their limited visual inspection on the agent, the AVID, the AVID, the agent visual inspection disclosure form. And even though the TDS, where we get our marching orders for the AVID, says it's a visual limit, comprehensive, diligent visual inspection, it still says that, but what it really means in court is it's a sensory perception. For example, if an agent walks into a home, maybe representing the buyers, not that familiar with the property, goes in to do his or her visual inspection, and there's a very, very strong, let's say, kind of musty smell in the house. There's nothing visual about that. They don't see anything, but it's a sense of smell. It's a sensory perception. So using that as an example, let's say I'm the agent. I'm there by myself. I open the front door to do my visual inspection thing, and wow, it's just hits me like a wall. It's very pervasive, very strong mildew kind of a smell, and it's like everywhere. So obviously, I want to disclose that. And I should, because it's a sensory perception thing, even though I can't see anything. It's just the wording of it. Now, since I'm not a mold expert, I'm not an environmental engineer, I normally, without fear of litigation, I would write down there's a musty odor throughout the property or something. But in disclosure, we never want to use adjectives. We can in advertising is all about adjectives: beautiful, wonderful, exquisite, amazing, kind of all day long, and very, very little litigation. When it comes to disclosure, adjectives are our enemies. So we don't want to go with big, small, major, minor, fair, short, long, colors, numbers, whatever. And I would never want, as an agent, I wouldn't want to write down musty odor in the property, because musty is kind of like the word mildew, and mildew is a lot like the word mold. And I don't want to project that I'm a mold expert. So the question comes up sometimes, like in-person seminars, somebody will say, well, should I disclose it? And I say, yes. They say, what do I write down? I'm not going to write down this house stinks or something like that. You got to come up with something different or better. So I like terms like obvious odor noted, apparent odor noted. So what I'm doing is I'm doing my job ultimately for the buyers, whichever side I'm on, either seller or buyer. It's eventually, the information is eventually for the people buying the home, and they're the ones moving in. So they've been alerted that when I was there, it's a very limited visual inspection, sensory perception. I noticed a distinct odor in the home. I can't determine what it's from, or if it's from the 14 cats they have, or three German shepherds living, whatever it is. I just want to alert them that I've noticed something. And another example might be if I'm in a, let's say I'm in the family room, and I look up and I'm taking notes for the AVID, and I notice what looks like a large water stain on the ceiling. Well, it probably is a large water stain, but I don't want to say large as a real estate agent, or small. And I definitely don't want to say water, because water is kind of not only an adjective, it's sort of diagnostic, and stains can occur in a ceiling from lots of things other than water. And since I don't really know, and I'm not going up in the attic and all that, I just have to be careful how I disclose it. So the careful part actually makes it easier. I'm saying fewer words. So instead of like large water stain, I'm going to say stain noted, discoloration at ceiling or something like that. So I'm doing my job of alerting the buyers without setting myself up for a fall later in court, where an opposing attorney, in like a cross-examination, says, how do you know it's water? And are you or on the mold thing or the musty thing, are you a mold expert and all that? So I just want to take care of the disclosure for the buyers, do my job, but don't set myself up for a lawsuit.
That is great advice. That is great advice. That's why you're one of the best. Now let's turn the tables and talk homeowner or seller or buyer, because when I'm doing some disclosures, and at the end of the day, if we see pinholes, nail holes, we can't say they're nail holes on the
Right.
wall,
Yeah.
right? We don't know what they're from, just like you said. And so it's kind of tough because I've had it to where a seller would say, hey, I don't have any holes on my wall. What are you
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Right. Right. Right.
Or they get upset, or even a buyer would say, what do you, I didn't notice that, or is
Yeah.
that a big issue? And so it's just very tough on our side. And, what would you say to a buyer or a seller in situations
So
like
I think the example you just used about nail holes and holes, I know you've heard me because I talk about that specific thing. So I still do. So I think the best advice, since we're limited in time, the best advice I could give to sellers is to, when they're thinking of, well, I've got to disclose anything I can think of that might bother the buyers. And there's the transfer disclosure statement form to kind of prompt them and so forth. Like, one of the things, just two things, is if you're a seller and there's a nuisance in the neighborhood, you should disclose it. For example, the classic one would be the neighbor next door has a dog that just barks all the time. Now, for most people, that would be a nuisance. Now, let's say I used to own a Great Dane, and it died a few years ago, and the neighbor next door has a Great Dane. Every time it barks, I'm reminded of the dog that I loved and miss and
that?
so forth. So it's okay, but I have to like remove myself from that and think, for most people, that'd be kind of a pain in the neck. So even though it's not a nuisance for me, it probably would be for others. So I'd want to disclose it. So as an example, a great question to ask to almost summarize the seller part of it is, when you move out, when a buyer moves in, the neighbors are ever so helpful to come over, start yapping away about all the stuff that happened at that house. So as a seller, I'd say, when I'm gone, I'm out of state, I'm gone wherever I'm going. When the neighbors come over to talk to my buyers, what are they going to say about this place? Are they going to say that, the family room floods out whenever it rains, or this happened or that happened? You just kind of like really think about it. Is there anything that a neighbor truthfully could say that I'm just not thinking of, where when the buyers hear it, they're going to like freak out and just kind of go through the motions and really think hard about that? And sometimes the answer is no, it's fine. I've heard of sellers talking to their next door neighbors saying, we're obviously moving. I've got to disclose things ultimately for the buyer. And is there anything that you can think of that I may be missing because I'm in this house every day? So, what are the neighbors going to say? For buyers, probably the best advice, and this is nothing really unique, but it's a really good idea to hire a home inspection company. And the cost varies. It's probably going to be $300 to $500, give or take, depending on square footage. Because you can look around. The sellers obviously have an obligation to disclose, but they're disclosing things about a home that they've lived in for 15 years, and they just might be missing things. So it's good to get not only a different set of eyes, but trained set of eyes. In California, home inspectors are not licensed. There's, I think, around 30 states that license home inspectors. You would think California would have taken the lead on that. We did not. We don't license them, but there are professional certifications. There are independent professional home inspection organizations where home inspectors have to be tested and peer reviewed and all that. And so it's good if they're certified. It's just not a state license. So anyway, it's well worth the money because they're going to go in and they're going to look at everything from their perspective as a professional inspector. They're going to go up in the attic, and if not a lot of crawl spaces in California, if there is one, and most buyers aren't going to want to go under there. So the home inspector will go under there and then really take a good look at that report. And there may be some wear and tear items that you don't really care about, or there's something about the carpet, but you're taking the carpet out, so you don't care about that. But they may catch something that you just didn't see, and it could be like a stain in the ceiling or something. A lot of times buyers are just get emotionally caught up in this place they're looking at, this new home, and they think that Johnny's going to be in this room, Mary's going to be in this room, and they walk right by, you know, a big stain in the ceiling, and they just don't see it. But the home inspectors are objective about it, and so that's a really good resource. And when the home inspector is there, if you're the buyer, it's really good to be there too.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, you can kind of follow the guy around, but don't like get in his way. A long time ago, I was in the home inspection business. This is like over 30 years ago. And I'll never forget, I was inspecting a home. One of the rooms was a small half bathroom. It was a family of 5. And when I went in, the entire family went in with me. It's like, and you know, I like you, I'm a big guy, and I just could not even move. And it's like, you can make it harder for the home inspector to find things. So kind of stay to the side, but it's good to kind of be there, check in now and then. And at the very end, and it usually take like hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on the size of the home. And then the home inspector sits down and does kind of like a debriefing, if you will. And that's good. And it's good for the buyer's agent to be there as well. And then you get the report. Usually these days, it's like the same day or on the spot, or, you know, by the end of the day, and look at it carefully. And that's probably the best advice I could give to buyers. That
is awesome, man. You are full of knowledge. And actually, we are going to have next week a home inspector, or a pest inspector. So that's perfect for the segue to that. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. I know we're very limited on time. I appreciate you. Your information will be below. My information will be below. So if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact Bob Brand directly if you want to hire him to come into your office or do a Zoom call like this, or even the associations. And then obviously real estate, you know, you want to buy or sell, make sure to give me a call, 916-254-8448. Rico Rivera, Bob Brand. See you guys later. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.